Constructive, one of the sponsors for the meetup group. I got lucky enough to start volunteering with this meetup group back in 2014. So 10 years of this wonderful group. So I'm glad that it's still around and we have great supporters like you to be here. So give yourselves a round of applause.
Speaking of volunteers, I want to shout out Andrew. He's here every single meetup. Yes. We've got Joe. I'm sure you've met. Yep. Clap for Joe. He's a good one.
Andrew and Joe.
And a testament to meetups everywhere. The founders of Edge actually met at this very meetup, I think 10, 11, 12 years ago. So yeah, community has huge power. Your co-founder could be sitting amongst you. You want to start a company,
Look
Chris?
to the left. Oh, look to the right. Sure, but I heard you're not going to be around for very long. It might be a long distance relationship. So, multi-jurisdictional, right?
Yes, we'll have to look into
conquer
the laws.
the globe.
Yeah, we will. That we will.
You got the southern hemisphere. I'll take the northern hemisphere.
Perfect.
Got it.
Yeah. So Edge. Edge is one of our sponsors as well. It is a self-custody, multi-asset crypto wallet that really prioritizes privacy. Privacy is going to be a hot topic this evening. So, yeah, if any of you guys have not signed up with Edge, if you get started today, you can find myself, Sam, Paul. We'll send you $5 in crypto to get started. So that's
free $5.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. The other sponsor is BitRefill. We have a BitRefill banner over here. They allow you to sell your crypto directly for gift cards. So you can quite literally live on crypto. You don't have to go to the bank, do all the things. BitRefill is a great way to actually use your crypto to live. And they bought the pizza and the drinks. So
yep, they allowed you to have beer and pizza tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, BitRefill. And speaking of signing up for things, and privacy has actually nothing to do with privacy, but we were asking, because we're trying to switch over we've been using the meetup.com platform for a very long time, and we are trying to switch over to Luma. As most of you know, a lot of events in crypto happen on Luma, and the Luma platform is pretty awesome. So if you signed up, can we see a show of hands if you signed up on the meetup.com platform tonight? You did sign up on the and events for the future, and we'll slowly start progressing over. So once you get registered there, then you'll start getting the notifications that we're having events, and we might have to post that link later. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Look for us on Luma.
We always post every single event that we host here. We post on the Edge events page. So we host developer meetups. We host some super technical meetups, some fun ice cream social type meetups, and you're always going to find them on the Edge events page, edge.app/events. So when in doubt, go to Edge. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for Edge for hosting again as well.
Yeah. All right. We have 5 panelists this evening.
Just a quick reminder, at the end, after our talk, where we do lightning rounds. So if you have something that you're working on, something that you're interested in, and you want to share with the group, right? As long
maybe
as you're not
looking for a job, maybe you're hiring.
Pushing some meme coin, right? And if you do, you can. The crowd will let you know. So just watch out. Bring a rain slicker.
We have tomatoes in the kitchen for throwing. Yeah.
So watch yourself.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, we are having minor technical difficulties. If the audio goes out, Andrew's going to fix it in just a couple seconds. So we'll just pause. Maybe we can do some deep breaths, and then we'll start.
Look at the sunset.
Yeah, look at the sunset. Exactly.
Some deep breaths.
Yeah. So the ECC team is in San Diego. Lucky us. and we snagged 5 of their members to join us on the panel. So yeah, I'm gonna let Chris intro everybody. There's 3 Chris's this evening. There's this Chris, there's 2 Chris panelists.
We wanted to make it easy
Yeah.
for everyone.
So yeah, I want to invite the ECC team up here. Chris, if you want to give everybody an intro, and yeah, let's get this thing started.
Hi. I don't want to give everybody an intro. I want them to introduce themselves. So thanks for having us. It's really great to be here in this amazing place. And thank you, Edge. Thank you, sponsors. We're excited. We've had 4 days of meetings and planning with the ECC team, and then also some community members who came in and helped us, which was amazing. We do this every 6 months in a different place. This is installment number 2. So it was good. We're happy to be here, happy to be in San Diego. My name is Chris Tomio. I do comms and media for ECC. I've been doing that for about 2 years, but have been working with ECC since about 2018 from the outside. Tatiana.
I'm the head of product marketing. Can you hear me? Yep. Does it work? Okay. I'm the head of product marketing for Zashi, and I'm trying to figure out what our users need and how they're using Zashi, how they're using Zec.
I'm Andrea Kobrlova, and I'm the product manager / project manager for Zashi, working very closely with the mobile team and both mobile team and core team, and sort of doing the magic of bringing ideas into features and getting it into people's hands, which is something that I'm super passionate about.
I'm Chris Nuttycombe. I'm an engineer on the core Zcash protocol team. I do a lot of wallet backend work and consensus protocol stuff.
Josh Swihart. Am I on? Yep. Yep, I am on.
I don't think so.
On button on. All right. Complicated. So I'm the CEO of ECC, but let me ask you. My name is Josh Swihart. I'm the CEO of ECC. How many people actually know what the heck ECC is? Okay, so like maybe half the room. How many people know what Zcash is? Okay, we got most people have some understanding what Zcash is. So Electric Coin Company, it used to be called the Zcash Company, and we renamed a few years ago. So we are the inventors and now supporters of Zcash, the layer 1 privacy protocol.
Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about the ECC mission and vision and how that manifests in our roadmap, in our work, in the products that we deliver?
So I'll take you back in history first before I get to our mission. So if you're not aware, or people that aren't aware of our history, Zcash is actually a fork of Bitcoin with zero-knowledge cryptography added on top. So you go way back to the Satoshi in the white paper, right? The desire or the mission or the thing that he intended was to build peer-to-peer payments, the ability to transact with one another without an intermediary, that it was permissionless, and he thought that it would be private enough with pseudonymous addresses. And there's in the Bitcoin Talk forums, there's a whole set of conversations that Satoshi had with the community and said, look, if I could figure out how to make zero-knowledge cryptography work on top of Bitcoin, then I would, but I can't. So that was like a little bit of a bat signal. So zero-knowledge cryptography was something that was invented in the 70s or 80s at MIT, or discovered?
Yeah.
80s.
80s? Okay. So some time ago. But it was a math paper, and nobody could figure out how to actually take the math paper into engineering. what zero knowledge allows you to do is to prove something is true without revealing any details about it. So if you think about, like today you go in to a liquor store and you want to buy a bottle of beer, you have to hand over your license, right? And the person on the other side of the counter is able to see your name, your address, your birth date, which is what they need to verify, but all of this other information about you. But they don't need all that information. All they need to know is, are you of age? And so what this cryptography allows you to do is to do things like that, to prove something is true without revealing all that kind of information. So the scientists at MIT, Johns Hopkins, Technion, Tel Aviv University, number of universities started working on this problem for Bitcoin. And they said, we're going to figure out how to add privacy to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is not private. If you send me some Bitcoin, I can see your address. And if I can see your address, I can go to Explorer, and I can see how much is in your wallet. And I can see all the other transactions. And in fact, now it's a whole industry of tracking and tracing, identifying people and what their transaction graphs are in order to be able to kind of understand what's going on. So they approached the Bitcoin core team, and they said, we figured out how to add privacy to Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin core team said, you know what? It's too novel. The cryptography is too new. It's not proven. We're not going to add it to Bitcoin, but why don't you create a fork and add it? And then sometime in the future, if it works, then maybe we'll look at adding it to Bitcoin. So that's where Zcash was born. So Zcash is a Bitcoin fork. 7 scientists came together, worked with our founder, Zuko Wilcox, to create a team to build that capability, and Zcash launched in 2016. So that's what we do. It came out of that vision of Satoshi. We've been talking about this week as a team, that actually came out of the original cypherpunk movement. This idea that when the internet started, that information and money should be able to move freely and without permission and without people spying on you. And that we as humans should have that right to be able to do that. That inspired Satoshi, and that inspired then us to build Zcash. So, our mission, when we talk about our mission is to empower everyone with financial freedom, the ability to do these things that we've been talking about for so many years to accomplish this thing. And that's what we're still building. So Zcash has been out there since 2016. The team mentioned Zashi as another product, and that's a wallet that we are building on top of the Zcash protocol to make it more and more easy for people to use the technology.
This cool thing happened where you were just talking and I had all these slides, and so I could just flip through them while you were talking and you didn't even know. But one of the things that, Josh was talking about zero knowledge proofs and ZK snarks. This is what a snark looks like. One of the things that Josh was talking about is, when you make a transaction with Bitcoin or, another cryptocurrency, and all of that stuff is revealed on a block explorer. So just to sort of like illustrate what he's saying here, if you go to a block explorer and look up a Bitcoin transaction, this is what you will see. You will see the address of the sender, the address of the recipient, the amount that they sent, the time, all of that kind of stuff. When you send a shielded Zcash transaction, this is what you'll see on the block explorer, which is basically nothing. In the real world, in a block explorer, it looks exactly like this. So this on the left is a Bitcoin transaction, happened I think today. No, happened in the future.
No, it says 7/11/2024. Yeah, it happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
July 11th.
It's European time. Thank you. Gosh. The future, yeah, okay. And then on the right, you'll see this is a transaction that I made in the future as well. Yes, a couple days ago. But you can see there's nothing there. Look at the from and the to. There's no recipient address. There's no sender address. It just shows you that the transaction was confirmed. It's pretty cool when you look at these two pictures side by side. Chris Netticombe, I'm going to ask you, what is Zcash for?
So, I got interested in cryptocurrencies back in 2013 because I was really entranced by the idea that anybody could go out and write a piece of software that would allow people to interact economically in new ways. Like, we could build whole new ideas of what is a company just by writing some software, and that if I used a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, that I wouldn't have to get a bank account. I wouldn't have to ask anyone's permission to build the kind of economic interactions that I wanted to build. And I built a platform, using Bitcoin. But a few years later, just a couple of years later, Zuko was a friend of mine, and he came to me and he told me about the Zcash project, and that it wasn't actually. First he told me that Bitcoin wasn't private, which was, kind of news to me, I think, as it was to many people, that, oh, well, that's interesting, but that it was possible to do this in a private way. And the thing that I realized at that time, kind of around the birth of Zcash, was that if I actually wanted to really build a new economy, that using a transparent cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or like Ethereum or like Doge or any of the coins that are out there, with very few exceptions, I couldn't do it because I don't want my paycheck to be public information. A business doesn't want its supply chain to be public information. You can't use, I can't go and buy a cup of coffee and have somebody be able to see the balance of my bank account and where I went to see the doctor last week. That just doesn't work. You can't actually build a new economy on a transparent public ledger. And so we absolutely vitally need privacy in transactions if we want to be able to build a new and more just sort of economy. So that's why we need privacy. That's why I'm here.
Okay, so a lot of hands up when we asked if you had heard about Zcash or knew what Zcash was. Can you put your hand up if you've used Zcash? Okay, less but good. Good. Tatiana? What do we know about Zcash users? What do we think we know about Zcash users? And what do we wish we knew about Zcash users?
Okay, so what I know about Zcash users. So I've been doing user research for about a year now. So that means I've had one-on-one conversations with over 100 Zcashers at this point, and sometimes more than once. And there are these general qualities that Zcashers have, which inspire me, and which is, those qualities are part of the reason why I'm still here. This community of users is really defined, I think, by generosity. They really care about privacy, truly. They see privacy as a way to preserve human liberties. They see it as a human right, and they're not thinking about, when you ask them, what do you use Zcash for? What do you want to use it for? It's not some illicit activity. It's just normal things. And their reason for it is that, it's none of anybody's business how I spend, the transactions that I'm making. So that's one thing. They're all over the world. They come in, in all ages. They're different backgrounds. Most of them are technical. but not necessarily. We have lots of users that have nothing to do with technology in their professional life. And they want to spend ZEC. Like they really, they want to store ZEC, but they're ready. There's a lot of hunger for using ZEC for real transactions. And when I ask, what's your top reason for not transacting in ZEC more, they usually say, we want more places to spend ZEC. So there's a real hunger for using Zcash the way it's meant to be used, because that's how it protects liberty. Like if it just sits there in your wallet as a speculative tool, it's probably not doing as much for protecting our rights. So
I want to make sure that you know that we are expecting you to ask questions, and you're free to do that at any moment. We can talk at you all night, but we're here for you. Every sort of group is different and has different interests and needs, and so please, feel free to raise your hand. Perfect. Let's go. Go ahead. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the question is, where does the shielded information get stored? The information is stored encrypted on the Zcash blockchain in such a way that it's only legible to the recipient. And in terms of, so Zcash has a UTXO model, so you receive coins and then you spend them. We call them shielded notes. Like banknotes. And when you spend a shielded note, you reveal nothing about the source of that note as public information. All that you reveal is a proof that you had the right to spend it and that your transaction balances. And then the recipient of your transaction, Zcash has sender anonymity. So they cannot see anything about who you are, that you sent them that note. They can decrypt the transaction so that they can see how much it was for, what kind of memo is attached to it, and the information that they need to then create another proof that allows them to spend that. But that's all encrypted directly to them on the Zcash blockchain.
Tatiana, you started talking about privacy and the Zcash users. I want to continue, and maybe Andrea and Josh can chime in here about privacy, the importance of privacy. Why do people need it?
Is there anyone in the room who believes that we don't need privacy?
I have nothing to hide.
Good for you, Chris. Well, we need privacy because we are people. We want to keep boundaries, and we want to have the agency in being able to decide what kind of information we reveal and to whom. So it's super important, and especially perhaps my point of view is a little bit different, because coming from Europe, we kind of have the enforcement of realizing how the personal information has to be protected. But especially when it comes to financial information, to your transaction history, to where you buy things, to who you pay, to how much you make, you don't want, as Chris pointed out, you don't want that information to be public. And it shouldn't be public. That information should belong to you, and you should be the agent that decides if you want to disclose that information.
Chris, I don't have anything to hide either, but I'm wearing clothes up here, you'll notice.
There are rules on YouTube. Josh, and I think a lot of times I'm acknowledging that you have your hand up, and I'm gonna get to you as soon as Josh answers something for me. Thank you. We often talk about privacy as this thing that protects us and it shields us, and it kind of builds a wall, right? So that we can retreat inside of that wall and have our privacy. But I'm curious if, you know, you think about privacy also, or like as an inverse, where privacy actually is breaking down walls or unlocking doors or allowing us to unleash something that we couldn't have without privacy.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of answering your own question. But so privacy allows us to be able to express ourselves, right? To be who we really are. And I use an example all the time about dancing with my daughter in the living room. And when my daughter was younger, now she's a teenager and she has only done it once with me this year. We used to dance in our living room after dinner, and I would close the curtains. Why would I close the curtains? Because people were walking their dogs by the window, and that was a moment between myself and my daughter. It wasn't a moment for them. And that the very nature of being observed changes our behavior, right? If we know that we're being watched, then we might act differently, and we're not living into who we are as our true selves. And so this allows us, privacy allows us to be able to live out who we are.
Okay, question from the back.
So he said also greetings from Matt and Iran, who are two of our founding scientists. Do you want so to paraphrase? How do I paraphrase that? So it's a question of do we need mechanisms to be able to protect the greater public good through kind of conditional privacy? Because there's these intersections where people can do bad things with the technology, like fund terrorist organizations and that kind of thing. We have this conversation a lot, and so. And it's a very, very slippery slope. The protocol itself is agnostic, right? And when we talk about nefarious things and that kind of thing, that there's a lot of context that's important. So what may be considered nefarious here is different in a different place under a different regime. The core protocol allows you to make the choice of what you're going to disclose or not disclose as the owner of it. Now you can disclose that you've made this transaction. You can provide a key, a viewing key or something like that that will allow somebody to see that transaction, but it's up to you. We have had lots of conversations at very high levels in Washington, D.C. Around this, and in other places like Japan and others that have these concerns. Now, there's two parts to it. The last one that we had, again, kind of at the highest reaches of government, and we had this conversation about, like, we need to be able to catch bad actors. There's a couple pieces. One is if you have a public transaction graph, it's actually a national security threat, right? So if the US government can see it, if that information is not encrypted, North Korea can see it, Russia can see it, China can see it, it's a concern. Criminals can see it. You're not protecting our citizens. They said, absolutely, we 100% agree. We need encryption. We just need the back door. We as the good guys, because we're not the baddies, we as the good guys need the ability to be able to access this information. And then there's questions under what conditions and that kind of thing. But as soon as you add a back door, it's hackable. It's done. There's not a piece of software that has like backdoor that hasn't been exposed, and it actually creates a honeypot. And it creates a belief that your information is safe because only this entity over here has it, when the reality is that's not true. And you don't know what the next regime is going to look like. And once that is exposed, it's exposed with blockchain. It's not exposed in that database and you get rid of that database and it's gone. It's there for all time. It's a public blockchain, or that information becomes public and you can't ever erase it. What are the consequences? We have to be very careful when we think about things like backdoors. Another question I asked, actually it was a different agency that I had this conversation with, and they said, well, and they were doing investigations on terrorist financing, child porn, evil stuff that nobody wants to see happen. And I asked them, do you have other tools to be able to catch folks, or do you need this one back door in order to be able to catch people doing evil things? They said, of course not. We have a whole myriad of tools that we use. They don't need, that's a kind of a, what the right word for it, but the argument that they need that one thing doesn't carry a lot of weight. But it is an ongoing discussion, and there is questions about, can there be compliance in a private way? People are working on that, and there's all kinds of different opinions. In my opinion, it has to, at the protocol level, privacy has to be sacrosanct, and you cannot compromise it, or it's compromised forever. It's done.
Chris Nuttycombe, did you want to add to that? I think I saw your finger.
I have just a couple of comments. And you know how earlier I talked about like the possibility of building new economic systems? You asked about terrorist financing. There's a bigger conversation to be had there, which is, why do terrorists exist? It's not just because there are, evil people out there. It's because there are people who, by dint of circumstance, where they were born and whatnot, they've been able to be convinced, largely because of their poverty, that that this radical ideology is the one that they should be following. I think that we need a more equitable world, and this is Zcash is one of the tools for that. And so that's, I'm not going to compromise on privacy. If someone comes and orders me to write something like that, I will go and do something else. I've got lots of projects.
Tatiana?
No, I just want to add that bad actors have been doing just fine with fiat, so I don't think they don't need Zcash. They find ways to fund bad things. So, but privacy is needed for the rest of us.
Okay, we have a question from the back. We have a devil's advocate.
They're required by
So question paraphrased is, because of Zcash's privacy, there must be challenges with regard to centralized exchanges and management of risk.
Yeah,
Josh has done a lot
I mean,
of-
I've worked with them
Yeah.
for years and years. So, so it is jurisdictional. There's some complications jurisdictionally. There's differences between what a exchange's compliance team is willing to kind of put up with and what the regulator says in that jurisdiction. And so, and in some cases, we've got like really good partnerships, and in some cases, the exchanges are lazy. So I would say, I'll call Binance out. I think that Binance is lazy. They're also under a lot of regulatory scrutiny, but they support Zcash today. Gemini took a very different approach. And so Gemini walked into NYDFS, New York Department of Financial Services, the most strict regulator in the world, financial regulator, and we worked with them. We worked with to have a bidirectional conversation with the regulator, kind of understand how the technology works and what can be used to what's called EDD, or enhanced due diligence, to allow Gemini to comply with local regs. So what happened is Gemini is now licensed to support fully shielded Zcash. And they're the only exchange in the world actually you can send from the exchange to a shielded wallet. And you can receive from a shielded wallet to Gemini. Now they may ask you some additional questions if they see something suspicious, like too much money's coming in too fast, lots of transactions. They'll send you an email and they're like, what are you doing? And they expect you to answer, and they can turn off your account. It's a centralized exchange. They're heavily regulated. So they do that risk scoring and that enhanced due diligence. They had to make a decision that they wanted to do EDD. When I say Binance is lazy, hi Binance, they don't want to do EDD, right? It's like we don't have to go through these compliance hops. So we want a different kind of option. They don't support shielded ZEC at all. In fact, they're now becoming the most restrictive in terms of how transparent transactions coming in. So Zcash allows two types of transactions: fully shielded or shielded, and transparent. Transparent are just like Bitcoin transactions, look the same, that kind of thing. Binance will only allow for that. Others like Coinbase are kind of in between. So Coinbase allows for you to send from a shielded wallet to the exchange, so you can't see the source, but they don't allow sending from the exchange to a shielded wallet. Some of that is actually engineering driven. People make an assumption about why that happens, but the reality is it used to be that creating a zero knowledge proof was very computationally intensive and would require changes to what are called HSMs, which are big hardware wallets essentially. And they didn't want to have to kind of go through the engineering hoops, but they have the kind of same level of approval. Now in different countries it's different. So Japan, South Korea, flat out banned any kind of privacy coins. UAE banned. Australia, it's not at the regulatory level, it's at the it's on the financial rail side. So the people running all the financial rails aren't comfortable with privacy coins. So any exchanges like Kraken that have to use those rails can't support it because the rails providers won't support it. So it varies by but we are seeing kind of a ratcheting down. We've seen that more in Europe recently, where there's more and more concern about privacy, and they're pulling that in. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, I think, ish. I would like to introduce you to Zashi, if you haven't yet met Zashi. Andrea. ECC is a small team. We are 15 people. We are very busy doing protocol work. Why did we think, what is Zashi, and why did we think it's important enough for us to build it?
So Zashi is a mobile wallet for Zcash. It currently just supports Zcash, and it's our way to find a way to have the user experience for the Zcash protocol and for the currency. So in order for us to do it and to do it in a user-friendly way, in a way that we believe it should be done, so that users can use it and not feel confused, and it can be really easy for them. So we really want to make sure that we can transpire and kind of apply the use of Zcash and create something for the people to use it. There are several reasons why we're doing it. One of them is that we are still maintaining and building the Zcash protocol. And in order for us to build the right things, we need to be in touch with users. We need to get the feedback for what we are building and how it's working, so that we can make the right choices and build the right things. So it's a way for us to gain that feedback and also build use cases that we believe Zcash could support inside the wallet. And so far, we are the only ones doing it. Everybody else is only building on the transactional, let's say, monetary kind of support. But we believe, and Chris, definitely, I saw your finger again right there. So, Chris, you are the biggest advocate and the biggest promoter of how many different use cases there can be for Zcash.
Yeah, so the Zcash protocol has a bunch of interesting features. We have viewing keys with different levels of capability, so that I can, for example, hand out an incoming viewing key to whoever I want, and those folks could see transactions coming in to the wallet, but not what happens with the funds. So for, say, a point-of-sale system, something like that is pretty interesting, because the cashier can see that transactions are being received, but they can't see what the owner is doing with the funds, and they may have a separate little hot wallet locally to provide refunds and so forth. So Zcash has a shielded memo functionality, so that I can, with any transaction that I'm sending, with each output of the transaction, I can include a 512-byte memo. The combinations, these are simple little features, but the combination of them allows you to, you have a communication channel, and you have broadcasts, you have one-to-many and many-to-one transactions. That combination of features allows for the development of some really interesting applications. And we haven't seen, I think just due to, in some sense, the complexity of the protocol and the lack of really mature libraries for working with it, we haven't seen those kind of applications being built at the wallet layer. And having Zashi as a wallet, I hope, right now it's a transactional wallet, but I hope that it will become a platform for a lot more interesting kinds of applications.
So, further on to your question about sending communique between people, what's the minimum amount you have to spend to actually be able to do that?
Zero. Yeah, so the question is, what is the minimum amount you have to spend to send between to another user? Zero for the transaction amount. There is a transaction fee. The transaction fee right now is something like a few hundredths of a cent.
0.0001
Yeah.
Zec, I think. It's either three or four zeros.
It's less than that in Zec, but in terms of, it's insignificant in terms of individual transactions. If you wanted to fill up all of the blocks with transactions for a day, it would start to cost you meaningful money. But for individual transactions, it's virtually nothing.
And since you're a fork of Bitcoin, it's going to be there forever. It's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
So you can write something, encrypt it, it can be stored there, you can retrieve it, or have someone else that you send to retrieve it for just a fraction of the actual transactional cost.
And there's more. I mean, you mentioned the 512 limitation. So there's the conversation about extending it. But we also have, so we've got a partnership with Brave. You guys are familiar with Brave browser. So yeah, awesome, great company, great people. So they are creating, they're adding shielded Zcash to the browser, so you can spend shielded Zcash across anywhere you go. And one of the other partners in that whole thing is Filecoin. And so with Filecoin, you will soon be able to, within weeks to months, be able to embed a much larger payload, and that payload gets stored on Filecoin storage. And it can be the payload, what's in the memo field is on the blockchain forever. That payload may be more ephemeral and stored only on the Filecoin side for some period of time.
Za. So just a general comment about sort of like we have been in this burning period, and now we're sort of seeing an explosion of new products and teams building and releasing things into the world, including the Zingo wallet, Zingo with an exclamation point, which Za knows very well, very familiar with. But just quickly, we are like at time, but I wondered if, I think Tatiana had one more comment, and then maybe if you wanted to just hit the highlights of what's coming in Zashi, Andrea, that would be cool. But Tatiana?
Yeah, I have a question for the audience because I saw a few hands go up when we asked if you've ever used Zec. And I was wondering if any of you want to share how you've used it.
I use it to just kind of pay friends back for lunch. I would love to use it for a lot more. I would love it to, go to a convenience store across the street from my house and buy things there. I am considering switching my children's allowance over to it. I currently pay them on like Loopring, L2, Ethereum, and it's a pain in the ass. So, maybe I'll get them some Zashi wallets. They're very user friendly.
Do you want to?
Yes. So to paraphrase for the people at home, we have use in sort of like paying peer-to-peer payments, paying friends back, buying pizza, picking up the cab, and also paying children in allowance. Coming soon. It's not there yet, but allowance. Yeah. Madison. Ice cream, sailboats, meetups. Very good. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, we have good news for you all.
We are having some exciting plans, as you can see. The main exciting plans are really hearing the user's need, and based on the user's need and their wanting to spend Zcash in more places, we really want to make sure that Zashi allows that. So one of the biggest focuses that is coming up for us are payment integrations. We have recently implemented Coinbase on-ramp, which allows you to buy Zec through Zashi. And we are also looking into implementation of the Flexa integration that allows you to generate a QR code and pay directly with Zack to a number of different merchants. And we also have a Radom gift card integration that's coming up. So we are really committed in improving the experience and allowing people to do what they want to do, which is spending Zack and not having to change it into stable coins, fiat, or any other cryptocurrency.
It is
Completely open source.
open source. Zashi is open source.
Check us on GitHub.
If anyone else has stories to share about Zack usage and you don't want to,
Well, I mean, I received it, but I want to do more with it, so I want to talk more.
Okay, yeah,
Awesome.
come up to me after. I'd love to hear it.
Don't use that QR code to ask a question because we just did it live. Okay. But yes, talk to us afterward. I know we want to get wrapped up and we got some more stuff happening up here. Download Zashi, whatever app store you use, and then come talk to one of us afterward and we'll send you a memo or we'll send you like a Zenny, something like that. I heard Za say it the other day. I think it's like a... Oh, I have a question before we go. Last activity. Does anybody know where the name Zashi came from? Or have a guess? What's that? It's not granola. Oh, do we have a guy? Satoshi, but Zatoshi, Zashi. All right, thank you.
Something else I wanted to mention, we are going to do an after party this evening at Princess Pub. So after I kick you out, we'll have a little train and we'll walk over to Princess Pub. So yeah.
Perfect.
Just wanted to mention that. Chris will do the lightning round.
All right. I know we've got a lot of people visiting from, there's a lot, like Madison said earlier, there's a lot of unfamiliar faces to me. So anybody traveling from outside of San Diego County tonight? Okay, lots of few hands. Anybody traveling from outside the state? Okay, anybody traveling from outside the country? All right, look at that. We got a good crowd here tonight. It's good to be back. And does anybody, we do the lightning round, so does anybody have anything they want to bring up, talk about, explain what they're doing? Come stand up here and we'll hand you the mic. And while we're waiting for that, I'll talk about the nonprofit that I'm launching called the Crypto Recovery Alliance. I've mentioned it before, but I like plugging it every time I'm up here because I feel like we're really doing great work for the community. There's lots of people who are getting scammed, and there's a lot of people who don't have access to get help. And one of the biggest problems that right now is there's three things that the nonprofit's going to do. It's going to provide no-cost blockchain forensics, so people can get the tracing done that they needed. And then access to preventative education, so they can realize when they're being retargeted. And then for the third thing is access to low or no-cost mental health care, so they can actually process and go through and deal with the trauma that they're experiencing by becoming victims of financial crime. And it looks like we got our first speaker for our lightning round. Welcome.
What's up, everyone? My name is Drew. I'm a developer for a brand called Goat Tribe, which is a NFT project. I swear it's not a meme coin, so technically I'm good. We do have a utility coin called Grass. It's grass for goats, but yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself and say hi. I'm a Cardano developer, so the NFTs are on Cardano. Interested in gaming and doing some stuff in Unreal Engine and linking that to blockchain transactions. So basically, like, you get in-game unlockables, stuff like that. But yeah, I've built various things on Cardano, like minting engines and stuff. And yeah, I've done a lot of work for Goat Tribe. So basically, it's a 10K collection of goats. It's really similar to like Bored Ape Yacht Club, except they're goats, right? And on Cardano, but the traits are done really well. They're like really high res, like it's a high quality NFT in my opinion, because like, you know, you look at a lot and you know who spent a lot of time working on their art and building various projects for the ecosystem and things like that. So yeah, I represent goats, and if you have any questions about Cardano, feel free to chat with me afterwards. So. What's that? My Twitter handle is at BigDrew369, or yeah, come up to me and I can give you a link or whatever. But yeah, cool.
Thank you, Drew.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Ryan, also known as NFT Demon. I'm one of the largest NFT artists in the world by multiple metrics. But I also run the largest consulting firm for celebrities and Fortune 500 companies for blockchain integrations. And one of my projects, which actually involves Bit Refill, requires a developer. So I'm just kind of like shooting in the dark and saying if anybody can integrate an iframe into Telegram, then myself at Bit Refill will probably be pretty happy. So if there's any developers here who could do that, then feel free to come up and talk to me. Let's try to work something out.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, that is also a celebrity project, by the way.
Hello, my name is Bogdan. I already did this announcement a couple of months ago, but I think it's relevant to the topic, plus we have some updates. So our company launched this app which allows you to vote against authoritarian government without revealing who you are, but proving that you're a citizen of this country. So the way it works is that you scan a biometric passport. Most of them have NFC chips, and it fetches the data from the passport using the same technology like Zcash uses zero knowledge proofs. It anonymizes basically the data. The data gets deleted, and then you have the proof that you're a citizen of a certain age, but it doesn't reveal who you are. So, and a couple of months back, we launched this in Russia, and 2 months ago, we launched this in Iran. So far, like, people are still hesitant to actually vote because they're still, you know, they're afraid that it's not super, anonymous, but, you know, we're getting there. Yes and no. Yeah, but technically it can work with the US passports as well. Yeah. Freedom Tool. Freedom Tool. Yeah. Yeah, freedom, like freedom. Tool. No, tool. Tool. Tool for freedom. Yeah, it's the accent, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bogdan.
Hi, good evening. I'm Scott. Just what we used to do in the old meetups is used to be able to do in-person exchanges. So people who wanted to exchange cryptocurrency for fiat or for precious metals, etc., would meet after the meetup and transact that way. I'm wondering if we can bring that back. So just more of a general question, more of a putting it out there, but just my thought. Thanks.
All right, just a reminder, join us on Luma. We also have a Telegram group it's not like annoying, and there's not any bots, and it's super cool. It's mostly me and Scott and Bogdan and Paul just chatting to one another. So yeah, find one of us and we'll give you the link. And we're also hosting a Comic-Con event on Thursday, July 25th. So if you're not going to the Nashville Bitcoin conference, come here, and it'll be really cool. Fari and her crew is throwing it with the Bitcoin or Litecoin, conference. Yeah, anything else, Chris?
No, it's great to see you. Great to see everybody. Good to be back.
All right, and done. Thank you, Zcash. ECC.
Yeah, also, if anybody is